Alright, the Richmond weekend review. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So let's start off. We had Xfinity race Friday night. You know, it's Xfinity. Race was completely dominated by Christopher Bell. I'll say this here. Usually the spring Richmond race is good, but the Chase Richmond race sucks ass out of a cannon. But yeah, Christopher Bell, he dominates and wins at Richmond. So yeah, I think everyone knew Bell was going to win Richmond. Hell, I had Bell winning that race in my predictions. So Christopher Bell with the win, he moves on to the second round of the Xfinity Chase. Just as I predicted. So the Xfinity Chase, I'm 1 for 1. But yeah. Yeah, we'll go over the Xfinity points at the end of this video, of course. But yeah, a lot of drivers did well, and a lot of others put themselves in massive holes to open the Xfinity Chase. And of course, Xfinity heads to the Charlotte Roval next week. So yeah, a lot of those holes could be easily dug out of. Because we've seen under this chase grid before, no lead is safe. But yeah, anyway, let's move on. So, the Cup race at Richmond. Well, just like I previously mentioned, the chase race at Richmond usually sucks ass, but the spring race is usually the better race. So, Cup race, nah. Well, it was competitive between the 4 Gibbs cars. It was mainly those 4 cars that dominated all race. Mainly Kyle Busch and Martin Truex were the 2 classes of the field. I mean, Keselowski and Harvick took the lead, but that was like for brief moments before the Joe Gibbs train took over and destroyed all of them. In the end, Martin Truex won the race. Kyle Busch gets second. Denny Hamlin gets third. And initially, Eric Jones gets fourth. So initially, we had a 1-2-3-4 Gibbs finish. A 1-2-3-4 for Gibbs. But hold up, that wouldn't stand because we have a penalty. Beep. Because Eric Jones' car failed post-race inspection for the rear end. So as a result, Eric Jones has been disqualified and moved to last place. So a 1-2-3-4 ended up turning into a 1-2-3 finish for Gibbs. And Eric Jones only gets 1 point at Richmond. I mean, for Joe Gibbs, hey, a 1-2-3 finish isn't bad. But still, they could have had a 1-2-3-4. So yeah, of course, originally before that disqualification, Eric Jones had himself in a favorable position outside the cutoff line to make it into the second round in the Roval. But now with that penalty, yeah, it's a must-win scenario for Eric Jones entering the Roval. We'll go over those points at the end of the video. But yeah. One of the main reasons the Richmond race usually sucks ass in the fall is because it's at night. Usually that track is a lot better during the day. Yeah, I actually forget. I think it's the spring race that's now a day race again. So the night race is at Richmond is still a night race in the chase. But hey, it's becoming a day race in the spring. So yeah, because we've seen that that Richmond in daylight is a lot better race than Richmond at night. So yeah. Plus, spring Richmond is always better than the fall Richmond. But yeah. So yeah, of course, with Truex's win, he was already locked into the second round regardless. So this one just adds more chase points to him. They're trying to add a cushion. So Truex can try and get himself into Homestead by default. But also after Richmond, Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick also locked themselves mathematically into the second round on points. So yeah, that's now 3 spots locked up. And that means there's 9 spots still up for grabs entering the Roval. And of course, next week at the Roval, 4 drivers will be eliminated, so we trim the field down to 12. But anyway, we still got some other races, because that was Saturday. We got the Sunday races. So, F1 race in Singapore. Well, it was a Ferrari. It was a Ferrari day. Sebastian Vettel wins with Charles Leclerc coming in second because of strategy, where they gave Sebastian Vettel the favorable strategy over Leclerc. So yeah, and Hamilton didn't even get a podium. Hamilton finished fourth. Verstappen got third. But yeah, Sebastian Vettel gets his first win in over a year. So now both Ferrari drivers won, and that's 3 straight for Ferrari. So yeah, good news and bad news. Good news is Ferrari is finally showing their stuff. Bad news, it's coming a little bit too late when Mercedes already has their stuff locked up with a pretty bow. Because Hamilton has a really good, favorable lead in the Drivers' Championship by almost 2.5 races, just over that. And Mercedes has a very gigantic lead over Ferrari and Red Bull in the constructors. So yeah, Ferrari, honestly, they should have showed their strong stuff in the start of the year so that Hamilton and Mercedes didn't completely fucking dominate, but oh well. But hey, Vettel gets that win and he at least makes up for Canada when he got fucked over by bullshit. But yeah, let's move on because we got a big race this weekend. Of course, the big IndyCar race, the finale at Laguna Seca. The championship being decided between 4 names. Joseph Newgarden, Scott Dixon, Simon Pagenaud, and Alexander Rossi. A champion will be crowned today. So, this race, it was mainly dominated by Colton Herta from pole position. Will Power kept it close but couldn't do anything once he got to him. Because clean air God. So yeah, pretty much for Scott Dixon, he needed to win the race and needed Newgarden to have a bad finish. But all 4 championship contenders ran in the top 10 all day and finished there. So by default, Scott Dixon ended up being eliminated from the title contention. So that left 3. So yeah, let's cut right to it. So in the end, Colton Herta wins again. Colton Herta gets his 2nd win of the year. Sadly though, those 2 wins do not equal Rookie of the Year. Rookie of the Year still at the Felix Rosenqvist for Chip Ganassi. But Colton Herta will be joining... Yeah, he'll be joining Ganassi. I think it's next year. I think it's either Ganassi or Andretti. Either way, he's going to be with a top team next year. So maybe Colton Herta can compete for a championship. But yeah, Dixon finished 3rd, but the other 3 contenders finished top 10. Pagenaud finished 5th. Alex Rossi finished 7th, but of course none of those finishes matter because Newgarden finished 8th. And with that finish, Joseph Newgarden locks up the 2019 IndyCar Championship. So Joseph Newgarden is your 2019 NTT IndyCar Series champion. And it's Newgarden's 2nd title in 3 years. Honestly, congrats to Newgarden. Well deserved. He was very consistent all year. One of the best drivers throughout the season. He earns it fair and square. Because the IndyCar Championship does not have no chase grid bullshit. So yeah, that's a big plus. But yeah, I think everyone knew going into the weekend that Newgarden was going to win the title. Because he had a very sizable lead. Newgarden entered this weekend with a 42-point lead over Rossi and a 43-point lead over Pagenaud. And Newgarden wins the title by 25 points over Pagenaud. So he still had a big gap. So Pagenaud, he ends up the championship runner-up. And Rossi ends up 3rd in the standings. But yeah. So yeah, Newgarden gets his 2nd title. So is this the start of the Joseph Newgarden era? I think we all knew coming into when he came to Penske a couple years ago. I didn't think the question was if Newgarden would win a championship. I think the real question was, how many championships will Newgarden win with Penske? Well, he's already at 2. The ceiling is very high for him. So, yeah. So, yeah, and that does the 2019 IndyCar season, so no more IndyCar rest of the year. So all we really got left is NASCAR and F1. But yeah, almost F1's wrapped up because Hamilton has the championship in the bag unless he really falls apart. But yeah, F1 also next week in Russia. And we also got the Charlotte Roval next week. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's jump right into the points. So here are the Xfinity points real quick on the screen. As you see, Christopher Bell's win, of course, locks him into the second round. You see Cole Custer, he has a 1 race lead over the cutoff line. So a good run at the Charlotte Roval will essentially lock Custer into the second round on points. Reddick and Cindric, they both have sizable gaps, but they could try and use some more. Try and get as big of a buffer over that cutoff line as they can. Allgaier has a pretty favorable gap too, but we've seen at the Charlotte Roval, like I mentioned earlier in the video, no lead is safe. Same deal with Annette Briscoe and Gregson. They all got favorable gaps, but like I said, no lead is safe. So yeah, Brandon Jones, he has himself in a 15-point hole. Same deal with Ryan Sieg, Justin Haley, and John Hunter Nemechek, all in giant holes. So yeah, for those 4, their goals are simple. Either win the race, or B, try and gain as many points as possible. Like, points should be on their mind entering the Roval. But yeah, I expect the Roval to be a chaotic race like it was last year. But anyway, let's move on. So here are the Cup points. Of course, 3 drivers locked into the second round, those being Truex, Kyle Busch, and Kevin Harvick. So here are the other 9 spots between the remaining 13 drivers. So Keselowski, Hamilton, Logano, they're all pretty much a race ahead on points. Like pretty much, they'll be locked into the second round after like stage 1 or 2 if they do good enough. Chase Elliott, he has a favorable gap. He should be safe on points. Same deal with Kyle Larson, but like I said before, we've seen in this Chase Grid era that there's some form of bullshit that always happens every year. And we've seen before that no lead is safe. Same deal with Ryan Newman. Newman should be safe on points, but we've seen how chaotic the Roval was last year, so don't count the chickens before they hatch. And plus, Ryan Newman usually sucks ass on road courses, so yeah, there's nobody safe yet. But after Newman, Blaney on down is when it gets interesting. Blaney only 8 points above. Almirola 3 points above. And Byron holds the last spot by 2 points over teammate Alex Bowman. So really, those 3, they need strong finishes or have some luck on their side to get in, to hold on to their spot. Bowman's going to needs to gain ground on Byron. Same deal with Boyer. Kurt Busch is in a gap where he's going to either need something to happen to some drivers ahead of him, or he's pretty much going to need to win the Roval. And yeah, Eric Jones, before the penalty, he was like 4, 5, 6 points out. He was in a favorable position. But with the penalty, he now falls into a 45-point hole. Let's be real, he's not going to make up all those points in one race. Eric Jones' situation is pretty simple. The Roval is a must-win for Eric Jones or he's out in round 1. But yeah, that's the point situation heading into the Roval. But yeah, I covered everything. That's all I gotta say. Hope everyone's a great day, and yeah, peace out.